Yeah, it's just I think this is the only manual I got, but there might be another one in here. Yeah, there is another one. I'll see if it's in this one. I keep hang on a sec. This may be it. 30. Okay, here you go. I got it right here. This must be the older book.
There's one here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna throw that book away because it don't have all the information in it. Yeah, this is actually where I was working at the other one. 36. In the manual, they give you a 3-ton. They give you two ways to look at it, with no heater and with an 18 kW strip. So you know you're actually going to fall in the middle depending on what kind of what kind of heat strip you put in there. We put in 15 kW, so I just used the 18 kW numbers. But if you look, it shows it as a dry coil. We do 5K. Well, if you do 5K, it'll be closer to the no heater. But you can see, I'll put a highlighter on it so it's easier to see. It'd be easier to look at. We got some people. What I did is I put a little orange mark on here, and it'll show you that at 0.5 inches of water column, you're going to get your most airflow. But anything below 0.5, you'll still get the same airflow because it's a constant torque motor. But anything above 0.5 up to 1 inch of water column, you're going to start reducing airflow. But if you look, you can see that it goes up to 1 inch of water column, and then when you look at 0.5, you'll see that's the reason they have these dashes, because it's all going to be that number till it gets to 0.5, and then it starts dropping airflow as you go up in higher pressure. So that's anything in this area is where you're going to get your most airflow, and this is a 36. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it is a 36. But so a Rheem 3-ton 21-inch wide cabinet is only going to produce 1,099 CFM. Yeah, you're only going to get 1,099 CFM out of that 3-ton unit. Now, some other brands may have more airflow. You know, like a Goodman may have 1,200 CFMs or over that, because the tonnages, it's going to vary from 350 to 425 CFM per ton. But we take that number right there because we got to work with what we have available. That's the reason I get everything out of the book itself. And as far as reducing down, I reduce down on every ton. I mean, in theory, I suppose you could reduce down on every drop. But for the most part, I just reduce down. Hey, what's up, Peyton? I just reduce down on every ton. And we use a back pressure style system. We could design forward pressure systems where everything just wise off and wise and wise and wise. Yeah, you're gonna reduce all the way down regardless. Yeah. You're gonna reduce down either way. How much experience I got, Victor? Vertical wall mounts. Straight out of trade school. You're probably in the area of around $20 an hour where I'm at. I have worked on some bards, but it's not very often I see them. Jerry, you want to jump on and I can talk to you a little bit more about it? Or we can wait till later. Don't blink. Hey, Rusty, we're talking about airflow, man. We're just talking about how to get perfect airflow everywhere you want to go. Would you advise, what advice would you give for new HVAC business owner? What I would advise you to do is make sure you're set up with the state. Make sure if you get sales tax, get set up with the sales tax. Make sure you have a great accountant. Don't just, you know, you need to talk to other business owners and talk to a few of them. Make sure you get a few different people's opinion, you know. Hey, Jesse. We're like on multiple phones right here, so we're on different platforms, everybody. So I'm looking at everyone's questions in particular. Uh, yeah, but it's even more than that, Rusty. Like we're talking about like finding the total effective length of the duct system, finding the pressure drops to the duct system, then using that information to plug into an equation so that way we can get the maximum available friction rate, and then we design it based off of that. We're talking about pressure drops across filters and return grills and just the different engineering data behind it. What's an HVAC? HVAC is heating, venting, and air conditioning. Well, system is cooling. How do you build business credit? Business credit, you can start a small business prepaid business card. Hey, I appreciate that, T-Bone. Go ahead and get you a prepaid business card, business credit card. You may be able to do it already. You may be able to use your personal credit to back it and get that business card, and then eventually you'll be able to get like a small loan. You just have to. You should establish that early though. You should establish it early because it's going to take 2 years into your business before you can do anything as far as loans go. Um, it's really you may be able to do both, Strucky. Like I worked part time and did school at the same time. I like being somewhere we just don't talk about setting boxes. Yeah, I mean, it's I like to get into the real intricate details about it just so that way I know. Um, is it a bad? Is it bad to leak refrigerant into the air? Is it refrigerant coolant or just refrigerant? It is bad to leak refrigerant into the air. It destroys the ozone. Can we do a live tomorrow with my install manager? Yeah, Jerry, that's no problem, man. You just let me know. Because I have school Monday through Thursday, 6 to 10 p.m., so I assume they want me to work too. There's not a bad unit, in my opinion. If the ductwork is done right, that's where it counts. Ductwork and like a good vacuum makes a big difference. You in the union? There's just not a union around here, man. Hey Chad, we're going over airflow right now. It's kind of crazy. Like I got more people on YouTube right now than I do TikTok. That's kind of crazy. Most time it's the other way around. I'll message you. I think 3 hours ahead of Arizona. Yeah, you are. Maybe 2. Maybe 3. I don't know. Maybe 2. I'm in Central. Yeah. Talking about airflow. It's I think it's one of the most important parts of the system, man. Is there any reason you shouldn't pull below 500? Once you get to about 250 microns, you'll start pulling apart the molecular structure of the oil inside the compressor. You can also pull the oil out of the compressor if you get down too low. 2 years commercial experience in California and nobody hires me. What's the deal with that? Like, why? Like, man, I'd love to have people that already had some HVAC experience. What's up, people over there on YouTube land? Y'all got some questions for me? Thank you, Whispering Ghost. Thank you. Appreciate the rose. I still think, you don't really need indoor air quality stuff other than the filter. A really, really nice filter work amazing things. Nikki Fresh. I'm curious, like on a 3-ton unit, what size ductwork are y'all putting on that? Do y'all know? I mean, right off the get-go. I mean, I know that may be more. Yeah, that's the way it typically is, man. Feast or famine. You know, it's really difficult to develop that consistency, and it'll take a few years to do that. What was the name of the UV air cleaner that you use? I have an iWave, but I don't really think it's necessary. Um, mainly 6-inch with a few 8. No, I'm talking about on your return side, Sublime. It's just that, man, with a better quality filter, you just don't have no issues at all. Like the Merv 13s that we try to run, 16-inch return, 14 on supply. You know, Sublime, that seems about normal. I think that seemed like a legitimate answer. You know, sometimes you hear stuff that doesn't even make sense. But a 16-inch. It's about 0.07 or about a 15 by 14 square duct. On the 3-ton that we're going to be running, on the 3-ton, we're going to run a 20 by 25 into a 30 by 30 return box. That 20 by 25 4-inch filter base will allow you to have a 300 feet per minute velocity. And at 300 feet, that's the lowest that that they have engineering data for on the filter. So the filter should last a really long time. The coil should never get dirty. Hopefully the coil will last up to a year. You know, the filter. I mean, biggest mistake I've made on a job, man. I've made so many. You know. The biggest mistake I made in HVAC is dwelling on my mistakes. You know, you're going to make them. It's how you handle it, too. You know, a lot of times when you make a mistake on the job, however you handle it, however you handle that mistake, the customer's going to view it. You know, if you jump back and you start getting nervous and you start to panic, they don't even know what's going on at all. So they're just going to see you panic and panic even worse. Hey Wayne, I don't think that you need them. I just like, hey, what's up, Riggs? I see you over here. I think that one's Facebook. Hey, what up, Scar? Well, just showed up to this live because the system isn't heating. It says it's blowing air. Is it do you got a heat pump? Do you got a gas unit? What type of unit you got, Scar? See, my whole theory about indoor air quality stuff is that if it never got to the coil in the first place, you wouldn't have bacteria to try to deal with. You know, if dirt never got to the coil, you wouldn't have clogged drains to deal with. You know, maintenance would be a lot easier if you had a really great filter that nothing got through. You would have a brand new looking coil every time you went. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think I've seen some of them, Scar. Thoughts on carrier systems? What's a money racket? I'm a 5-year tech in Indiana. I feel like my current employer is paying low hourly and trying to say make up money in sales. Should I move on? I don't know, Seth. What you making over there? 5 years in. Yeah, I'm in commercial HVAC test and balance, and the biggest things we run into when people start wanting UV light, it ends up being they don't do it proper PM. Yeah, so like the UV lights, You end up having to replace them. A lot of other stuff you had to deal with, iWave has got to be cleaned. It's just a lot of extra stuff that a great filter would solve in the first place. UV on ice machines, must have or nice to have. Been in school for HVAC. How much do you think the difference is, Seth? Been in school for HVAC for a year. Started my apprenticeship job the first Monday of May. Man, it's a good trade to be in, man. Just stick it out. It gets easier and easier and easier. I promise. It'll eventually just be cakewalk for you. Starting pay. T-Bone, where are y'all from again? Gary, where are you from? $102 per hour. I would just talk to some people, Seth. I mean, what they want you to incentivize selling. I don't generally like to incentivize selling stuff. I think it could really come off bad. People don't appreciate. The customers don't. Gary, I'm on my way. Bay Area. How long does it take to learn the basics? Refrigeration cycle would probably only take you about 10 minutes. But putting it into practice can take a little bit longer, I would say really, in order to be a decent tech, maybe 4 or 5 years. Some people's going to say less. Some people might say more. Sublime, I don't know if I've seen you go straight from plenum to cube. Just curious. You say how you say you were doing it. I teach a 12-week program for pre-apprentice. I go straight from a plenum to generally round pipe, and that is typically a total effective length of 120. Sublime. Heard that? Yeah, I agree. I only like to sell when needed. Thanks, brother. Yeah, of course, man. I would talk to different people, just see what they say. Different companies. You'll run into them a lot of different supply houses and whatnot, But I don't know the cost of living up there. Decent tech would be an installer first. Yeah, I agree. It helps out to be both, if you've done installing and service, it really helps out later on because you can kind of put a lot of stuff together. Carpenter HVAC possible? Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? So they learn how systems work first. Yeah, it definitely helps to learn how the systems work. If you can learn how systems work, the basic stuff. You know what I'm like when people ask me the basic stuff. That's a real. So I'll give you a very thoughtful response to that. What is basic? Because when you're sitting there talking to someone else and you're trying to design duct systems in a way that no one in your area designs it, but it says it clearly in the manual, is that basic? What a lot of people say is basic is kind of complicated in a lot of times. Yeah, and HVAC you never stop learning, so basic is okay. That's fair enough. Seth has a good answer over here on Facebook. He said basic is the order of operations. Hey, that's fair enough. Hey, Gary says if it were basic, everybody would be doing it. It's true too. It's true too. But I do agree that you got to know the order of operations for sure. You got to understand some basic concepts. You got to understand the refrigeration cycle. You got to be able to understand how to read wiring diagrams, and you got to understand like airflow. There's a few basic things that you got to be able to understand. If it were easy, anyone would do it. Hey, that's right, man. You just go down there to the supply house, pick you up a couple $1,000 worth of them tools, and get on it. You know what I'm saying? I had a guy try to do that to me one time. I had a sales guy. I tried to work with a guy to do sales, and he was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna just start my own company and just sub them out to you. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do it like that. Because you get in a position where you're trying to leverage me, and I didn't appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, I mean, not for me. You think three-phase grills versus single-phase grills make an airflow difference? They absolutely do. And I know they do because I pulled the engineering data on it. I know for a fact they do. Single-way curved blade grills, for example, flow a lot better than three-way stamp-faced steel grills. Subcooling is heat removed from a refrigerant below its condensing temperature. Correct. Thoughts on new refrigerant being used manufactured for modern systems? Uh, Man, I think they're all the same. I think it's really just a big money grab, really. Can I tune my own AC and what should I check? Hey Ryan, um, what you could do is make sure that your indoor coil is clean. If you got one in a closet, you could look underneath there in the hole, or reach your hand in there and take a photo looking up with your light on. Go look at your outdoor unit, make sure it ain't all grass and stuff in there. If there's grass in there, spray it from the inside out. That way it pushes the grass back out the way it was coming through. Outside of those things, I'd pour some stuff down my drain lines, make sure my drain lines stayed open. But yeah, you don't have to do a whole lot of complicated stuff. You don't even have to open up the panel for the basic stuff. Of course, you could always open up the panels and clean and sanitize everything that's in there. A lot of times on outdoor unit, they got a lot of stuff. Spider webs, cobwebs, all that type of thing. I wouldn't steer you into getting into the electrical part of it. 18 years in the trade. Um, I don't think anybody ever, is in elementary school and is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be an HVAC tech. I just don't think that happens. But then again, I don't think people do it with welding either. But the question is, I suppose, is do I enjoy what I do? And I do. I do, absolutely. Probably shouldn't have ate on live. I got some peanuts or something on my teeth. 18 years in, man. It's hard to believe. Man, it flies by so fast. But the thing is, man, it just gets easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. It's just like things that you struggle with before, you just fly through it. Hey, what's up, Jeff? Is your house tired? Just hit 5 years in this trade this month, and I can tell you this is not at all what I thought I'd do. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody woke up one day like in elementary school thinking that everyone says police officer, doctor, lawyer. I use a pair of Yellow Jacket analogs. I could use the digital ones. I just always grew up on the analogs. I like the analogs. Just enjoying this Florida weather, brother. How's your Sunday? Everything's going sweet over here, man. I can't complain. And probably wouldn't either way. My radiators keep going out. Boilers are running. I believe bled the radiators. Any advice? Bob, I don't really work on boilers. I'm a little bit more southern, but because you're in the right channel and we're streaming on multiple platforms, I will ask that question, and one of these other guys will tell you. My radiators keep going out. Boilers are running. I bled the radiators. Any advice? Anyone have any advice for Bob? We'll see what they say, Bob. Just I'm just sitting here answering questions, man. A lot of times, uh, I don't know how excited I'm supposed to be, but analogs are more. I think some people said that there's silt in your system, Bob. I guess maybe you'd have to keep draining it out. And if zoned systems is zoned open, and if zoned system is zones open, is what he said. Do you have a zone system? I clean the outside AC. Do I need to do anything in the attic? If you got an attic unit, I'd probably run some white vinegar or some bleach down the drain system. Um, I've had my field piece digitals for a good 9 years. Yeah, if I had some digitals, it would be field piece for sure. How often do you clean the outside AC? Probably once or twice a year is probably pretty good. Yeah, it's not a problem, Bob. We got a bunch of people all throughout social media right here. Um, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I got a whole bunch of different phones set up in front of me. um, Testo or field piece? Definitely field piece. Those S-mans ain't no joke. Yeah, I like the field piece. I like field piece. I mean, if you think about it, Field Piece is like the only company, maybe Testo, I don't know if they are, but Field Piece is definitely has always been only HVAC. Like they are geared toward HVAC. What cleaner do you suggest for cleaning the outside unit? Then, if you can avoid using any type of cleaner, I would avoid it. I would try to avoid using like dish soap. Dish soap, if it's left on the coil, could deteriorate the copper. So if you're going to use some kind of dish soap or some kind of detergent, you need to wash it very, very thoroughly. They do make cleaners at Lowe's and Home Depot and stuff like that. You could probably go to an HVAC supply house and get you the appropriate cleaner. But do mix it very thin. Don't put a whole bunch on there. Follow the instructions on it for sure. No, I don't think it's zoned if it's not forced air, cast iron radiators. It's in Massachusetts. I think I'm actually familiar with what you're talking about, Bob. Where it's just like a radiator sitting close by the wall and it just, permeates the heat that way. Uh, Nothing wrong. Simple green or residential units. What do you recommend on my field piece? Makes a great micron gauge, for sure, man. For sure. Bob's question about his boiler. Anyone got any more advice about it? He said his radiators keep going out. Boilers are running. I bled the radiators. Any advice? New Bright's good. I like the bluish one too. I put crushed rock around my outside unit, cut down on a mud splatter a lot. Yeah, I agree. Crushed rock is pretty good. What info do you need, El Colgando? Is the boiler running? And are there water in the radiators? Is the boiler running? And that's what's so great about this is that this guy's over here on YouTube. We're able to get in some help, even though I don't typically work on boilers. There's a lot of people that do here. So, how many people do you have in your company? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people right now. I need you to grant me permission to exit your live to run to Ace. You're all good, Jerry. Man, I appreciate y'all your support, man, for sure. Jerry's always in the live. New Calgon, tri-power and commercial applications. Yeah. Let me see what they said. Is water in the radiators, Bob? Yeah, if anybody feels like they want to get on as a guest, man, I'm always cool to do that too. Gotta stretch a little bit every so often, man. Can I vacuum a new system to check for leaks instead of just using nitrogen and pressure? You cannot. Now, let me tell you why you can't do vacuuming down. Uh, the reason you can't, because if you got insulation on the pipe, that insulation will suck into any type of hole you may have. And because it'll suck in, it'll actually help hold that vacuum. When you put positive pressure, it'll push that insulation away from the actual weld, and you'll be able to see it. Don't use bleach in your drain line. Chlorine fumes. It will use deteriorate aluminum coils. Just get appropriate detergent tabs from HVAC supply house. I would try to bleed them again, Bob. From what people are saying, that's generally what you need to do, I think. I've never seen a drain line where I was like there was too much bleach in it. I have seen coils that had too much cleaner, but I've never came up to an evaporator coil that was like, oh, there's been too much bleach poured in the drain. Not to say it can't happen. I've always heard it could happen, but I've just never seen it happen. So I'd like to put that to the test. If you have multiple crew company, cam is a great tool. I use house call and company cam. It makes quality control a lot easier. Yeah, we put a lot of pictures in the House Call Pro app. House Call Pro makes a really nice app, guys. Some inspector bait that roll up. What rule? Oh yeah, about the nitrogen. No, I'm not in the attic today, man. I'm just hanging out down below. White vinegar. Use nitrogen to test for sure. Made that roll up. I think so. Yeah, I'm gonna try it again. Yeah, thanks, Bob. Hit the follow button if we can help, man. That's what we're here to do. Yeah, multiple. Ethan, what would be the difference in uploading videos on House Call Pro or photos versus company cam? You're not off today? Man, I'm off right now. I'm in my house. I tell people vinegar because the bleach could affect glue holding PVC after too much. That's an interesting thought. Maybe that's fair. You know, I haven't really thought about that one. That's fair. I'm in my house. I'm not gonna. My AC works, man. I'm not gonna be in. I'm not gonna be in someone's house when it's sweating, and then doing a live stream, just in somebody's house over there, just living the dream, huh? You just set up a whole bunch of phones. Yeah, we're live right now. We're live. Yeah, that'd be wilding out. I think doing a bunch of live streams at someone's house is about the equivalent of going inside someone's refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Can you imagine walking in and like you had some guy working at your house and he's inside your refrigerator? Like, man, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Even if he put his own drink, let's say you wasn't there and he's like, you know what, man, I got a drink. I'm gonna try to cool my drink off. I'm gonna put my drink in his refrigerator. You know, it's still pretty wild, ain't it? I used that bowl wrap that you recommend. I wasn't itchy and my Delta T was perfect. telling you, man, sweet stuff. They don't pay me for it either, so that's how you know. I have people tell me to grab something from their fridge still feels weird. I know, right? Like, hey, what's up, Isaac? We're live on all the platforms right now. We're just joining in on this one. But there's about 100 people total right now.
You kind of messed it up. I'm trying to send it.
Great job. You've gone live for 90 minutes. I've been live for hey, what's up, Eric? I have been live for 90 minutes. Multiple crew cam, subtater. Tin Man's on here too, man. It's been a while since I've seen Troy.
I'm center. That might be better.
You have template. They have templates, and on new construction, you can have hundreds of photos and create a finished template, so you can go back on. I had to check into it, man. Hey, what's going on, Mark? Hey, HVAC J, TJ, what's going on, man? Good to see you on here. Like we got it all going right now. It's kind of crazy because I got 4 phones in front of me, but it's like living a dream, man. What's up, Ernie? Do you like microchannel coils? I'm not a big fan of microchannel coils. The theory is they're supposed to be more efficient at heat transfer. I guess the reason they put them on commercial stuff is because, you know, maybe there's not that much stuff on rooftops to clog them up. But I'm just not a big fan of them. But they're supposed to be really great at heat transfer because of the smaller pipe. I see you, HVAC boss. I see you over here, man. We're live streaming on all the platforms right now. We should drink. Man, they won't let me. They won't let me do it. They'll put me in trouble if I do that, Rudy. Not use. Note, use of coil cleaner on microchannel. Just don't do it. Just don't use any coil cleaner on microchannel. No, I'm just hanging out, man. Just hanging out inside the house today. How many years? I was doing HVAC work for 10 years before I went out on my own. It's kind of wild because I'm sitting here looking at all these images of myself. You know, use dish soap on microchannel is what they say. It's what HVAC boss just said. Dish soap on microchannel coils. Yeah. It's really 2 different things, you know, running a business and being an HVAC tech. You got to have a lot of experience in both, I think. It definitely helps for sure. 25 years in the industry. Man, I only got 17, but I feel tired already. You know, like, I don't know, since I quit drinking caffeine and energy drinks, I don't know how y'all are doing it. You know, honestly, I know we got a few people right here. I don't know how y'all are doing it right now. Like, I'm 30. I'm in my mid 30s, and man, if I don't have caffeine, I feel like I'm dragging all day. Like, I just don't get it. I thought I was doing a good thing. I don't feel any different other than being tired. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I may save like $10 a day, I guess. I only hire guys that are Adobe Acrobat savvy. That's what you need to know for controls. I hear that. And chillers. Going into my 9th year this year, still learning, nowhere near where I want to be. It takes a long time, Troy. I mean, I still learn stuff every day.
My mom called.
Yeah, I see that. You gotta fix this thing, guys.
Propped up now.
Yeah. I had to scoot these together.
Yeah, that's probably better.
You name it, 20 to 5,000 tons. That's a big system, 5,000 tons. All right, I'm here. Let's get the party started. Shoot, you late to the party. I've been here an hour and a half. I'm exhausted right now. I was just telling people I quit drinking energy drinks and no caffeine. That's my favorite part about the trade. You're always learning. Things change all the time. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, it's constant learning. Dude, hey man, turtles are art. I like turtles. He said there's a turtle crawling on your wall. Yeah. I like turtles.
Hey, do you want these peanuts in the fridge or on the counter?
I've ate a bowl of peanuts already if you want some. I bought 2 bags. You scared me. I almost thought you were going to say you quit drinking. About to have our 410. Hey, yeah, 410A, man. There's people going to make a whole bunch. Tovar, I do residential and commercial stuff. 5,000 tons. What air conditioner? USS Enterprise. Yeah, what has 5,000 tons of cooling? HVAC boss, you ever work on something that big? 5,000 tons? What is even that large? I think a hospital that I was talking to this guy that does industrial. He said it was like 250 tons or something. Yeah. Man, my condenser probably looks pretty rough. I haven't been out there in a minute. I let the grass grow up too high. Chillers for entire apartment complexes. Fair enough. Let's talk about how we can bring in more money this year. You know, that's a good question. How do we go about bringing in more money this year? Or make the money that we're bringing in more profitable. Because that's where I was at. I was trying to bring in. I was doing. I mean, you can never do enough, I suppose. But the money I was bringing in, I'm definitely making it more profitable now. What is the suggestion, HVAC boss? What way can we bring in more money this year? We had to build a catwalk around one for service. Do you think it's sustainable to go out on your own strictly doing installs? Jeremy, you'd had to do service too. Only something pay good, I hear. I can't see what that is. Ain't no way. When you start calculating to work less and try to be more profitable, that's a receipt for failure. Yeah. I definitely want to watch both lines. I want to watch adding more to the top line and making sure that I am staying profitable. I think, I learned that you can give people opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise get. And those opportunities come out of your pocket and they still won't capitalize on them. Like paying for schooling and stuff like that, paying for someone to come in and teach for an hour or two every week. sitting them down in like a classroom setting to get a little more book training. Wasn't worth it. Definitely wasn't worth it. Uh, Hourly or commission? I like to do hourly just because I know that there's people out there that if they're incentivized to sell something, they'll sell stuff that people don't need. Commission if you have experience. Commission is cool as long as you're not a sales tech. Just sent you Jay's video. Check him out. New York commercial is another level. I believe that. I believe that for sure. I imagine New York. I mean, I ain't no telling what a one service call in New York cost. Yeah, I mean, if you got to go, you got to go to the top floor of the building, and it's like 80 floors up, and then you got to carry all the tools and stuff up there. Give me 4 hours to install a condenser fan motor for service tech. Yeah, man, getting your mechanical license is a big to do. Congratulations on that, taking that step. Sales techs or wannabe techs. Yeah, I don't like the idea because whatever value it helps the technician, the customer is going to look at it in a negative way. So, if you look at it like the technician, whatever benefit the technician gets, the customer looks at it in a bad way. Rudy says that as far as the 5,000 tons of air conditioning, his ex-wife was 2,500 tons. So there's that. My ex-wife was 2,500 tons. Let me see. On average, what percentage does everyone mark up material and labor cost when quoting a changeout? I know it's different everywhere. I'm just curious how different. I try to shoot for 25% margins. I don't know how that falls where everyone else is. But 25%, if I could do that, makes life easy. I need more copper for real. HVAC nowadays using less copper. Shrinkflation, line sets, and constantly conditioning the space. I double materials and add about 50 an hour. That's what I don't understand the people that's like, the equipment is 4,000, and you're like, some people, I think it starts at doubling the material. Like, I've never heard anyone say less than doubling the material. Never. Like, even people that's just starting out with whatever different way they calculate their numbers, I've never heard anyone say, like, less than doubling the material. And if you think about it, it really don't make much sense because, you can't scale that process. I mean, you couldn't make the company bigger because, think about it. If, you're doing a big job that's going to take months, that it's not going to work out that way. My thoughts about truckers, they get AC equipment to the job. I appreciate them. Thank you. How can you be better at Call of Duty? Man, you got to get better with your aim, and double tap's a good one. Go ahead, get your perks right. What's your thought? We got HVAC Boss going live on Instagram with us.
Turn it up.
I'm just letting y'all know, y'all talking about Call of Duty, but y'all ever play me on PUBG, man, y'all gonna have a bad day. I'm just letting y'all know right now. Don't want to run into me on PUBG. Boss.
Yo, what's up? Let's talk about making money.
Let's talk about it.
So So I'm hearing you go pretty much 25% profit, right? When you're quoting a job.
I want to clear 25%. Like not, and I'm talking about net. I want a net
There,
25%.
there's. I'm not a big believer in a formula where I'm going to clear 25% every time, or at least minimum. There's
I
going to be some jobs you're going to. There's going to be some jobs you're going to clear 20%. There's going to be some jobs you can clear 40%. I think you got to quote it. I don't like the formula. Hey, I charge this much an hour, and I charge this. I'll double my equipment. Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it can work against you. There's some jobs I can quote where I'm probably going to walk away with 40% profit.
I agree with that too. I think it's just
And there's
more
some.
like a starting point for me. Like if you don't know nothing about the situation, how would you price the job? Like a technician calls in and says, "Hey," or someone calls you up and just, "Hey, I want you to bid a job," type thing. Uh, how would you go about that process and do it differently?
My text called me. Is that what you're asking?
You cut out. I didn't hear you.
I says if one of my technicians called me asking me what to bid a job.
Yeah, like if let's say someone had a change out to do, um, how would you determine how you're going to go about 20% or 40%, or how would you do you do it case by case depending on every customer?
I try to do it case by case. Usually they'll take a lot of pictures for me, or they'll FaceTime me. And I've been doing this long enough where I can look and I know what's going to take. I know, I'll throw maybe an extra 5%, 8% there in my head, for something unforeseen, and quote it and quote the like. I'm pretty competitive and profitable.
Yeah, I think there's some things that I agree with there. Because one of the things that if you're bidding against somebody, a lot of times they may not tell you who or what the price is, but just by telling you who you're bidding against, you have a pretty good idea of what that price is. So it kind of
Right.
gives you a better perspective on where you could be at on a job. So I mean,
You know, I want it A to Z, Alex, and I don't necessarily mean that in a greedy financial way. I look at the customer as value. Um, if there's going to be a job that I need a bid where maybe I'm going to be 20% profitable, I'll take it. I'll take it, not because it's so much because I want that 20%. 20% is still going to be okay, but the customer's worth more in the long run. Right now, maybe we're switching their AC unit out. This year, or they're referring me to their family, their friends and family, or next year where I'm changing out a hot water heater for them. Customer. A lot of people think they only think about now. Let's make the sale now, but you got to look at a customer in the long term. I want a relationship with that customer. I just don't want to be a one-time deal.
yeah, I think that's worth a lot. The cost of customer acquisition is very high, and the potential for that long-term customer is there's a lot of money to be potentially earned. Um,
Absolutely. Most of my customers, I hardly do any advertisement. The bulk of my customers repeat business and referrals. And I can't tell you if I had a dollar for every time I heard, you guys did my sister's house, you guys did my brother-in-law's house, you guys did my grandpa's house, and you've referred it, referrals. You guys did this person at work, you guys did their AC unit. Referrals is worth a ton of money. And
something
to ensure
something
those,
something I ran into, and I wanted to ask you about this. See, a lot of people when they start, they typically bid to get the job, which is similar to what you're kind of saying. I think like if you'll take the 20%, but a lot of people get into a habit of where like what you're saying, like you do a job at 20%, and then that customer gives you a referral, which is also good. But um, as your company grows, it can become difficult to maintain those numbers. Like when you first start out, a lot of times people don't have the experience on maybe bidding a job in a way that they could scale it. So when their cost goes up and they're like, well, you did my friend's house for this price, now you're charging this much. How would you handle
Well,
those type of situations?
well, I always like to tell them, well, like, every case is a different scenario. You know, uh, I would say, well, maybe your friend's house or your coworker at work, we didn't have to do this, we didn't have to do that. In your case, I am going to have to replace your pan in your attic. I am going to have to do etc. I'm going to have to upgrade your return. Every job is a different scenario.
Yeah.
And I hear you about, there's some, and especially on those ones that I'm going to make 20% on. That means I just got to work a little harder. I got to be more efficient about it, so I can move on to the next one. So I can move on to the next one. Maybe I'm making 35% commission on. Um, there's a guy in here, Central California Air, Luis. I just seen him pop up in here. He knows what I'm talking about. I kind of been guiding him along the way and help him get an account. I think it's been going good for him. I don't think anything I've ever told him that's steered him wrong. Right, Luis? But everybody Alex talks about and thinks about, they want to make the money now. Like, I had a young apprentice that's been riding with me, and he says, hey, I think you sold that job pretty cheap. You left a lot of money on the table. Yeah, I appreciate that. Says, yes, sir. um, and I says, yeah, we're leaving that money on the table because we're going to come back later and get it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like the thought of, not really even like having to push a sale because you can make money on the repair, and then when it comes time to replace that unit, you can make money on the installation too. If that's what the particular homeowner prefers or business owner prefers.
Exactly. Exactly. Customers will tell me, and I'll mention it. I'll politely mention it, like, hey, 20-year-old unit. Hey, last year we changed out the condensed fan motor. This year we changed out the blower. Then the following year after that, we had to add a little refrigerant. Hey, you might want to think about replacing this unit. Oh, I'm not ready for it. Okay, no problem. When you're ready, we're here.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like my 25% is just like a general rule. I think there is a lot of times I fluctuate on that. Just depending on a couple different factors, kind of like what we were talking about with who we're bidding against. Like, really and I'm not going to say I don't care about the money. For me, I really do care about trying to do a really great quality work. And a lot of times, what you're going to run into is you're gonna do the absolute best, and best, and then you're gonna run into a budget issue. So it's gonna be like you can't, you gotta draw the line somewhere on the extremeness of what you call best. So I mean, I understand the whole idea of that concept. There is times that fluctuates, but just on a general rule, that would be like what my percentage would be, just throwing a number out there. But I do think what you're saying is very accurate on making a job to job approach. I think that's
Yeah,
a really
because
good.
there's some there's some jobs that customers want the full upgrade. They want the whole 1920 SEER Bosch upgrade. They want the return upgrades. They want to add additional returns, a smaller return in the master bedroom. They want all the perks, and I think those are the jobs that we can bring in that 30-40%. You know,
Yeah, and then I run into a lot of situations with older people, um, that definitely is very limited on their funds. So on those type of situations, I try to do even better for them. And then there's some situations where there's a lot more money to be made. But I think like every approach being different. It's pretty accurate, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it. What about on larger commercial
Uh,
projects? Let me ask you that one. Like on a large commercial project, do you still view it the same way?
I still do it the same way. But you got to remember too, Alex, I train my guys to be fast and efficient. You know, a lot of my two-man install crews are putting in 2, 3 package units in one day. They're doing split systems in one day. Now you get those prima donna techs that say, hey, oh man, this company over here gives me 3 days to put a split system in. And you know what? Maybe should be working over there because I got somewhere to be. I got goals in mind. Maybe I'm here and I want to be here. So I want to keep chasing that goal. Either that technician's here to help me get to my goal, or he's standing in my way. That's my mentality about it. And there's a lot of techs out there that always I hear them at the supply houses brag about, oh yeah, I get 3 days to put in a split system. I don't have to do nothing much of anything, and I get paid. I make good money. I don't know if they think that's a flex. You know what I mean? If you got a job where you're making good money and you're hardly having to work for it, I'd probably keep that to myself. Because as a man, you want to earn what you make. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You
I
know,
agree with that. What does the job market look like over there? Is there a lot of technicians available? I mean, like it seems like in my area
no,
it's very dry for that.
no, no, no. There's not a lot of technicians available. There isn't. There's a lot of sales techs. Sales techs down here are a dime a dozen. I have a lot of people that interview that want to come work for me, and I have them take a little 25-question quiz. You know, just basic. Whether because I hear it all the time. Oh well, I've been a technician for 3 years. I've been a technician for 5 years, and we'll give them like a meter question. When you're checking electrical resistance, what do you set your multimeter to? Volts, ohms, microfarads. And you'd be surprised how many people get that question wrong. What do you set your meter when you're checking a capacitor? You check it to volts. You check it for ohms or MFD, DC, and they get that wrong. So how can you be a technician for 5 years and not know where to set your meter and check a capacitor? You know,
It is
and
pretty
and I look at
crazy.
the resume. Yeah, I look at the resume, and sure, they've been with a company for 5 years or 3 years. Give you two examples of two guys, and that particular company has to be a sales company, and they've had massive layoffs because they're not able to sell those $30,000-$40,000 change outs. You know, and I think some of these newer techs need to wake up and say, hey, these sales jobs are starting to run out. It's starting to be a repair market, not a sales market. So these technicians, they want to stay in the trade. They need to get their sharpen their skill set.
What about pay wise? You think hourly is the best, or do you have other ways of going about it, or how do you go
So
about?
I pay I pay by the hour. I pay by the hour, but there's also incentives for how much jobs are getting done, not how much money they bring in. They still get spiffs and bonuses, not by the amount of dollar they bring in, but the amount of work they bring in, they get done.
Like if they get a certain amount of
So
jobs
I've
completed in
had
a
it to
day.
where I test. That is correct. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
correct. Um, and I think it's everywhere. I think technicians, there's a big gap there, generation gap. It's hard to find technicians. I found more success training technicians. And then I'm not trying to knock on the technicians that went to school, but at least some of the schools around here, they don't teach them anything. They pump them up saying you're going to make, at least in my area, $30 to $40 an hour. It's a pretty good rate. here for a technician, and they pump them up. They get here says, "I want $35 an hour. I want $35 an hour. I was the top of my class. I was the best of my class." Well, sometimes you and I know that don't mean nothing out here. You know what I mean? At least of what I've seen it around here. I mean, to the simple fact that they can't even pass a 25 question basic quiz. You know, and when I say basic, I mean basic. You know what I mean? And I put it to the test. I have a 7 month apprentice that didn't go to school that I've been training, and I had him take the test. And out of 25 questions, he got two wrong. And that's because he's got real live experience. You know what I mean?
Do you, far as your pay, because this is something that I'm diving into right now. I went from trying to train up some people to where I feel like at the moment in the company, I really need to get more. I feel like my life would be easier if I had a little bit more qualified people coming in. You know what I mean? Like, um,
The
maybe.
problem with that, Alex, the problem with that, Alex, getting more qualified, getting more experience. Either the good guys that are really good, that are well experienced, you're gonna pay real top dollar. Otherwise, those are the guys that are doing commercial or they're working for a residential commercial. They got 401k, they got paid vacations, and they're making real good hourly. You would have to compete with that. And the guys that are really really good, they're not going to leave a big company, a stable company. I don't know how big your company is. I don't mean that
Yeah, I
in
understand.
a disrespectful way, but why would they want to go? Basically, to them, it's a step back. You know what I mean?
Um,
So those are the guys that are worth something. Now you're going to have guys, that I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you
no,
off.
no, you're good. Um, what I found at some of the larger companies that got those things is, it seems like the bigger the company, the more difficult the management can be sometimes. So like what I hear, the feedback I get is like, yeah, I'm stuck in this place, like, and the person that's over me, he either don't have the kind of experience that I have and the understanding that I have, um, or a lot of times that those people don't have any kind of flexibility with their schedule. Sometimes they're so good at what they do that they are the guy. Like they are the guy that everyone's dependent on. Instead of it being kind of spread out through a workload, they make good money, but at the same time they're working all the on call shifts. They're constantly having to work late. Um, the management thing type stuff being an issue. But
You know,
I wouldn't be opposed to paying that though. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I'm curious to know like your thought on it. Like, if you had just a company full of those $30 to $40 an hour men, does it make your life better, or does it make your life more difficult because they're theoretically stuck in their ways and they want this and that and
well, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can get that guy's been doing it for 10 years, and he's an older guy who's been doing it for 20 years, and you'll pay him $40 an hour to save you a headache. Sometimes they're more of a headache because now they might think they know more than you, Alex. Alex tells them, do it, 1, 2, 3. And they're going to say, hey, I don't like the way I'm going to do it 1, 3, 2, and you come back and you're like, what the heck? Sometimes it's hard to teach an old mule a new trail. So I found that it's sometimes just better to invest in an apprentice and train them your way. I've had more success that way. Most of my technicians have been trained in house, and sure, there's a big risk. You can train a guy for 2, 3 years, and some other company may come along and says, hey, instead of working 10, 12 hour days, you only have to work 8, and I'll give you 50 cents more. And sure, there's a risk like, hey man, I was just starting to make money with you, but you jump ship. And that's always going to happen. That risk is always going to happen, but it still doesn't stop me from moving forward. I would say maybe for the most part, we got 80% retention of those guys we train. And sure, we lose some, but you can't run a business on fear of training somebody and losing them. That's always going to happen. That's just part of business. You know what I mean?
So, is there a sweet spot for you? Do you think like maybe somewhere in the 3 to 6 year, or 4 to 8 year, or 5 to 10 year experience, or do you think maybe training up from the ground up, training from someone that doesn't know anything to a full fledged tech?
Um, I kind of like a guy that doesn't know anything that I can train because I've had guys come in and I look at their resume, looks impressive, and go ride with me for a week and pay them the dollar amount they want. And I'm like, and I'll says, hey, we're helping us do a compressor change out, and they don't even. I can tell they're not that good at brazing. They're forgetting to change out the filter dryer. Anytime you open up a system, you better be putting in a filter dryer. Um, and I'm like, I thought you've been doing this for 10 years. Oh, I have, and sometimes jokingly I'll tell them, you must have been the water boy. I don't know what you were doing, because some of these guys has been doing it for 10 years. Hell, I'll put my 1 2 year rookie against them. You know what I mean? But I've also been told, I kind of run my company kind of like a military style. I'm kind of a drill sergeant. But some of the guys joke around. 2 3 years. I've had guys that 3 years have worked somewhere else. They come here and say, "Man, Angel, what I've learned so much here with you in 1 year that I never even learned over there in three." So some of the guys joke around like, "Man, cost less. They're like dog years."
What about
But in a good way.
so running it like that? What would you start someone out with no experience?
Here in my area, there's different pay scales. We pay vacations, we do full medical, and on top of that, the hourly rate. I'm going to say they're worth from 20 to 25
I got you.
dollars an hour. You know, um, and I always tell them, hey, you're the biggest person. You're your own boss. You dictate what you make. You know, and I just want the work ethic to be there. I don't care if you're not that good at something. That's the easy part for me. Me or my guys can teach you and make you more sharper in something. But if you don't have that work ethic, you're that guy that just drags his feet around. There's nothing we can do about that. You
So you
know,
go with the work
other than put
ethic.
our foot.
Start them
Yeah,
early. Start them. Don't take someone that's got a whole lot of experience, and look for the work ethic, and then drive it home. So make sure um, that their work ethic is there. Make sure that holding
and
them accountable that way.
and I'm sure Alex, you're probably going through. Man, I've trained guys for 2 3 years. They jump
Yeah.
shift, and you get tired mentally. Mentally, you get exhausted, and you get discouraged to say, "Man, I just want to hire a guy that knows as much as me, or if not more. Hell, I'll be his helper." And but you got to look at it this way, Alex. If they were as good as you, then why would they work for you?
Right. The
So,
my experience was I had a couple people that was 2 to 3 years in, and you know they just, in my opinion, they wasn't. They filled a void, but they wasn't pushing like they should have been pushing. So
well,
I
and that's
mean,
the thing. What within 90 days, I better see some. If I take a guy straight out of school and I'm going to train him, I better see some. What we're training you is better be sticking. And I'll give you 3 months. If I train you on something once or twice, by the third time, you better know how to do it on your own. You know, Otherwise, we're wasting each other's time. You got to get down the road,
so
and
you
that's
give
just
them you
business.
give them like a, what is it, like a 90-day probation period where they're missing
I do.
time and stuff like that, and then do you bring them in after 90 days, or do you I mean, how do you go about it?
No, I mean, yeah, if they make the 90, and like I said, most importantly for me, it's the work ethic that they're wanting to learn. They're wanting to work hard. They're raising their hand. Hey, I'll help so and so be on call this week, and I want to work. The red flags for me are the guys that, you know, you just hired and has been with the company for 2, 3 years. And this is a lot of these newer, younger technicians. Hey, I want to ask for a week off or this, you know. Those are red flags for me because I feel anytime you just start a company, you just started, you shouldn't be asking for days off. How? I'm the type that if I just started a job, even if I am legitimately sick, I got a bad cold, I'm still going to go to work. You know, I feel like, man, I just started. I got to prove myself. I can't just been there 2 weeks and start calling in sick already. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree with that.
Now,
Like something's got to
some
be
people may
crazy
say,
happening for in the first 90 days, in my
exactly,
opinion.
exactly. Now, some people say, oh, well, you know, the boss man rules with an iron fist. Well, I rather, there's rumor to say, hey, you want to go work with the boss man? You really work over there. Well, then that's good. Those are good rumors. That way, you know, they don't waste my time. Nobody's going to show up at my doorstep looking for a job. You know, if they're willing, if they've heard all that and they're willing still to come apply with me, then that's probably the guy I want. You know, there's a lot of companies, local companies around here that have a lot of service technicians, and respectfully, and they half of them ain't worth a damn. You know, so I'd rather have one good technician instead of 5 technicians that ain't worth nothing. You know,
Yeah,
and
I definitely
it's
agree with that.
proven. My methods is proven true. You know, I got a lot of guys that's worked for me. You know, we got new uniforms, and we're doing something special with the uniforms. You know, we're putting stars. You know, we're putting stars on their kind of like military style on their collar. Each star represents 5 years. You know, and there's a couple guys that's going to have 4 stars on their collar. You know,
Yeah,
there's
that's
a couple
something
guys that are going to have 1 star on their collar.
thought about different color shirts to differentiate that, something like that. But I think the stars represent like a good discipline type mentality. It seems like
Yeah.
very military esque, but it also shows like really not so much military, but more discipline. Like I think it shows
And
that.
here's the deal: for every star you get, it's worth that in years and thousands. If you get a 5 star, I mean, if you get a 1 star, which is for 5 years, you're gonna get a bonus for $5,000. If you get a second star for 10 years, you're gonna get a bonus of $10,000. At least there's some incentive for you to stay loyal.
That's true. That is
You
definitely
know,
true. Because
and you
people
know what's
don't.
funny? Yeah, you know what's funny, Alex? The people that I have lost, I really didn't lose anything. There were those guys that were calling in. Uh, they weren't so keen on working anything after 8 hours. You know, just not really learning much. You know, and sometimes they'll go another company and think what they're offering. They said, "Hey, just 8 hours is all you got to work for me." Come, I mean, what owner would do that? You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's why a lot of these those are the same companies that are failing right now in my neck of the woods. You know, how are you going to tell an employee you're going to make more money and all I need you to work is half less? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like I'm gonna pay you more money and
I'm a
work
little
less.
I'm a little different. I'm gonna say, hey, you know, if you work more, you're going to make more. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
agree with
So,
that. There's I don't know how many people we went through, but it's a pretty good bit. And just certain people don't make the cut. Certain people just I don't know if they just don't have it from the beginning. But certain there's a
and
few people
that's
that stick with you. Very few.
yeah, and you know what, Alex? That's one thing you're going to have to learn as a boss. You got to have an eye for which guy's got to do it, and which was not. You know, I can talk to somebody for 10, 15 minutes, and I can tell, you know, what they're, you know. And I ask them in interviews, oh, how you doing? Oh, you know, you married? You have any kids? You know, they're kind of thinking, why is this guy asking me that? What's that got to do with the job? You got bills to pay? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. You got a reason to
So,
come to work, or you just gonna lay out and party all weekend?
yeah, or you're that guy that's unmarried, single, and is going to be partying all weekend, and you're going to be not reliable come Monday morning. You know, and like I said, my method. I've been a boss now for 21 years. 21 years. You know, and my loyal guys. And you know what's funny? The guys that I lose, and it's very rare when I lose a guy, but the guys that I lose are, like I said, they're like the third string guys that I didn't have the heart to fire, and it's a good thing they left on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because the other company's thinking, ha ha ha, I got a technician. Good luck with that. You
Yeah.
know, you can't win a war. You can't win a war with guys that don't want to fight.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You know, because I think a lot of people think that they're doing you a favor, and at the same time, it's like a two-way street. Like, you know, you probably should have let them go a long time ago, but you didn't have the heart to do it. And when they left, they feel like, you know, they kind of one up you, and you're like, well, okay, you know.
Yeah, that's what you did. Yeah, good luck. And you know, and I know companies, and it's some companies, and you know, it's a lot of it because there's a lot of company owners here that are investors. You know, they're not out in the field. They don't got their ear to the ground. You know, they hire these guys that are got a bad rep. They're bouncing job to job. When I look at resumes, I look at how long you've been on a job. You know, I see guys that's been there a year, 6 months. They went to the next one, and I'm thinking, why am I going to waste my time? I'm just going to be another name on your resume.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know what I mean?
Like you don't see anyone that's worked a steady job for a long time. It's just like they won't be here long either.
Yeah, they won't be here. Why? You know why? Why waste your time? You know, and it's just the younger generation. You know, has a different mentality, and I get it. There's some guys that are just not trained. There's younger technicians that go work straight out of school, and they get whatever training they can from their buddies because the company is not willing to train them, and they're working for a sales company. You know, so I give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, I've had guys that I've hired from sales companies, and they just say, "Hey, I didn't know better. I was told the unit was 8 years old, sell it." And you know, or I was told, you know, I wasn't even aware we can fix this. You know.
Yeah, and you know, someone else made a comment over here. They said bad employees hurt your good employees more than they hurt your business. What do you think about that?
You absolutely got that right. You know, bad apple, ruins the basket. But I look at it this way. A lot of my guys, I got a lot of veteran guys, and I got a lot of very good employees, and they regulate themselves. Usually, they won't let anybody start bad mouthing the company, or they'll flag it. They'll within themselves. They'll come to me. One or two managers will come to me and say, "Hey, this guy's got to go." You know, and some of these younger guys, especially with social media nowadays, you got a lot of, they think it's all glory. You know, they're a new technician, and they see other technicians out here that are on social media, TikTok, Instagram, and no offense to these, because there's guys that make a career out of it, and I got no problem with that. But they think it's all fun and games. It's just one call a day that you're running. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
do you think that your business is limited by the amount of qualified people that you can find?
I don't, Alex, and I don't say this arrogantly. I can do the work of one or two guys because I've been doing it long enough, and I still move pretty quick. And it's funny, a guy was training the other day. He says, "Man, boss man, you move pretty damn good." I said, "Shit, I wish you would have met me when I was skinny." you know, and I kind of figure I got the mold. I can stamp these technicians out. You know what I mean? I can make a technician. It's just, these younger techs. You got a lot of good technicians. Sometimes they're just not influenced in the right way. You know, they hear Instagrammers, TikTokers talk about, oh, don't take this from your boss, don't take from that. You should be making $30 an hour. You should do this, do that. But maybe he's that same technician that bounces job to job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them do it.
Let's like somebody's got a question in here. Reliable HVAC. Go ahead, Adrian. The winner of the HVAC Tactical Awards. What's your question, Adrian? But that's just my firm belief. The guys that do show me loyalty, I bend over backwards, give them the shirt off my back, and they make a ton of money. And I always tell them, cost less ain't for everybody. It's for the few and the strong. That's it. And that's how I can push my company forward, propel it forward. And I feel like I got the upper hand. How? I got other companies that will recommend me, saying, "Oh, this is going to be a tough job. This is going to be a difficult job. Call Costless. They'll get it done." And it's somebody that I don't even know. Making the referral.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, ain't it? Like when you get a referral from someone that you've never even met. That I've experienced that. That was an interesting thing the first time I experienced that. You got a referral from someone that you never even dealt with.
All right, and you know what? And who knows? They might be thinking they're setting you up for a failure, but I look at it. There's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I can't tackle. And if I don't know how to do something one way or the other, I'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's going to get done.
Yeah, and getting more done with less is the key to staying in business.
I'll try. You're absolutely right about that because, I got about 50 employees, and I know companies that have over 100 employees here, and yet I'll bring in the same amount, the same dollar amount, they revenue, with half the employees. How is that? How's that possible, Alex?
You gotta get more done with less.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that in business that you could just waste money. By being I think a lot of people. I know some of the comments over here on TikTok is over here referring to, the employees have the leverage now, and what I'm thinking is like, as an employer, I've spent a lot of money trying to invest in people that I probably shouldn't have, to be honest. I mean, that's because it didn't work out for either one of us. It didn't work out for them. It didn't work out for me, and I should have let them go. And so it's not about trying to leverage workers. It's just about trying to get as much done because ultimately what you're trying to do as a business owner is grow your business, and by getting more done with less is how you grow the business. If you want to take a chance on going out of business, do the opposite of that, and you'll eventually go out of business.
It's funny because sometimes I see Instagram guys that are giving recommendations how to grow a business, and I mean no disrespect to them, but I'm like, or talk about, oh, you got to treat an employee like this, you got to treat an employee like that, and this is how you do it. And I'm like, but you don't even have employees. What are you talking about? So I think there's a lot of disinformation that some of these popular techs, that look good on camera, they're pushing out information that's not true. Or, oh, you shouldn't, if you don't like this, you go to a different company until you find the right company. Well, no, that's bad information. You should always give a company, I think, I have a technician that finally stood with me, and he says, Angel, I would give every company a year. I give them a year. There's a lot, even if the 3-4 months into it, I didn't like a lot of stuff. I didn't want to be that guy bouncing around. So I would give a company a year to see if things would change, or I would work my way in on making a change. And if not, then, I moved on.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's just everybody wants to make big boy money, but they don't want to do big boy work. And of course, some guys might say, well, of course he's going to say that. He's the boss. No, that's just the real. I have an old boss that I used to work for that I became pretty good friends with, and we do a lot of work for him now. And he tells my text, hey, Angel doesn't works the same amount that he worked for me that he does for himself. He's not working any less. Bottom line, there's no way around it. You want to get ahead in this world, you're going to have to work. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
it's you can't
it's
argue
funny.
with results.
No, you can't. If you get your mind right, look, here I am on a Sunday. I woke up, had breakfast, went to Starbucks with my wife, came and watched the movie, and I'm twiddling my fingers. And I'm like, man, I can't sit around. So I went to Home Depot, pick up some material, pick up some tools that I need for a job that I'm starting tomorrow. And I can't wait till tomorrow morning. I'm already excited to go back to work. Now, how many of you guys right now are on this live was like, oh man, tomorrow's Monday. You ain't gonna get nowhere. I don't care if you're doing HVACing or you're the damn janitor or you're a manager at an office. You're not gonna get ahead with that kind of mentality. It's all about the mindset. My mindset says, man, I love to work. I love it. My mind tells me, shit, I would almost do it for free. You know what I mean? It's all in the mind. So how exciting is it for me to go do what I passionately love doing, and the cherry on top is I'm making money?
I agree with that for sure. I got a job coming up tomorrow that I've been thinking about how I'm gonna do it and everything, and I got the materials already. But I was like, man, I wonder if I should go over there today. It's a new construction job.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with getting ahead, And you know what? It's funny you should say that. There's jobs that I've tackled that I've never done that job before, and I kid you not, Alex, I've done it in my dreams.
Yeah, I said something about that. I said something about that.
I've done it.
You know what's so crazy about that is even in my dreams, I'm still like I'm looking for my tools, and people still take my tools. So I'm thinking like there's other people dreaming and they're walking off with other people's tools. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm like people's walking off with my tools in my dreams.
You ever get a chance to meet any of my veteran techs? They're going to tell you is like I'll show up on a Monday morning, do the job, and they're like, all right, Angel, how are we going to figure this out? I says, I already dreamed about it last night, boys, and it worked in my dream. This is how we're going to do it. And it's funny because it turns out that way, It's just, bottom line, like, HVAC Tactical, Ben Polo over there pushes a lot on, is it's all a mindset. It's all a mindset, guys. No matter anywhere you go, you're going to have to work. Unless you got a rich daddy somewhere. Now, you don't have to work, But other than that, a job's a job. There's going to be things about a job you don't like, but, it's all your mentality. A lot of times people say, that's my job. I find these younger technicians, they blame their job, they blame their employer, but, they don't want to ever blame themselves.
That's true. No one ever goes and looks in the mirror and holds themselves accountable the way they hold other people accountable.
That's absolutely correct.
If someone has a 75-inch TV and it has a 90-day warranty and 89 days later it goes out, they'll go looking for the receipt. But if something happens within their career, they don't ever go to the mirror and hold themselves accountable in that same regard.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. But I just keep saying mindset. I got an 18-year-old tech that's been with me now since every summer, worked with me every summer for the last 2 years. Now he works for me full time. And man, only at 18 years old, I'm telling you, he's a hell of a technician. He's got that mentality. Oh, this can't be done. We can't fit in that crawl space. He's got that mentality. He says, watch me get this done.
The ones I look for is it says that watch me get this done, and they don't have to have an attitude to do it. Like some people have to get mad to show someone else. Like I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like they'll do it after they get mad about it. And it's just like, man, you don't have to be mad about it. You can just do it. Like, uh, not to say that he was getting mad, but just saying that some people get mad. Like some people
You know,
have like an ambitious mentality, and then some people in general have like a negative mentality.
I guess you can say I'm ambitious, and honestly, I'm not ambitious in the sense of I need money. I need money. Uh, thank God, God is good. And years, I mean, over a decade now, I get up and go to work, don't have to worry about my bills. Um, but I still work like every day. Like by the end of the week, I got to come up with $500 for the rent. You know what I mean?
Right.
I still have that drive and that passion. You know what I mean? And I talked to a lot of owners. A lot of owners are like, well, Angel, how do you do this? How do you do that? I says, well, I just a passion. Employees can see the passion you drive with. You know what I mean? If they see that you're an employer that is the last one to get there in the morning and is the first one to leave every day, do they want to work hard for a guy like that? I lead by example, Alex. I come out here and I grind every day, and it works. I don't come from money. I came from a very, very poor upbringing, and I never in my life, every time I see my tax papers every year, I can't believe, and I don't say this arrogantly, that tens of millions of dollars that we're grossing every year. And I'm like, it's that easy, just with the mentality of, hey, we got to grind, we got to get up, we got to do it, let's go.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. It's easier by ripping customers off. It's easier by making that $30,000 sale. No, it's just being dedicated and doing it right and staying true to the customer and not ripping them off, not gouging them. That's at least how it's worked for me. And I've had people at dinner parties or these get-togethers that a lot of these suppliers put together, right? These getaways, right? And they'll say, well, no, Angel, you got to do it like this, do it like that. There's nothing worse that just gets under my skin, Alex, when somebody tells me, Angel, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And I'm open-minded. Tell me, And I say, what's your portfolio like? Oh, well, I've been in business 5 years and I got 2 employees. Well, respectfully, how can you tell me I'm doing something wrong? You might not like, there's different ways, 10 different ways, to do something, to do an install. But you can't say I'm doing it wrong my way. And in fact, I've been doing it for 21 years on my own with over 50 employees. So maybe, just maybe, you should probably be taking notes of what I'm saying, And not necessarily that'd be true. You got your way of doing it, and I got my way of doing it. What my way doesn't necessarily have to work for, somebody else's way, right?
It's true.
But that's my pet peeve I have, Alex. But I've had guys that are trying to educate me and tell me, and your friend Kevin being one of them, though I like Kevin now, 20K Kevin, trying to educate me, and I'm like, well, Kevin, but actually, I think Kevin opened his eyes. Kevin actually asked me if he can fly down here and spend a week with me. And he wants to learn my business. And I said, come on down. I'll tell you, I'm an open book. I think I don't know if he's still in here, Luis. It's Central, I think it's called California Central Air, that me and him has met. I've been down to where he's about an hour and a half drive from where I'm at. And I've schooled him on do it like this. You know what he told me, Alex? I met him over probably 2 years ago. He goes, boss man, everything you told me to do has not failed me. You told me to get on a CSR and paperwork would be better. And he goes, and that proved to be true. You told me to go out after this type of business, that same business I told you to get, Alex. And he goes, now I'm staying busier than hell, and I'm getting a lot of installations out of that. I don't know if he's still on here. He would have testified to that, And I like to hear those success stories, I do. Now, if there's ever a guy there's ever a guy, Alex, and I'm open-minded. If there's ever a guy that got over 100 employees, been his business, 30 years, and he's got multiple companies all over town, man, that's the guy I want to take notes from. You know what I mean?
That is a very interesting perspective because most people can't or don't grow their company to that size. I would almost say can't because I mean it's hard to compete with someone that strong. I mean, business wise, that's a very business minded, very strong work ethic person to grow a business to 100 employees. That's a very difficult task to do.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it based on how many of them are there out there. In my area, there's maybe one, maybe. That's like
I have only been on social media for going on 2 years now. I've never done social media. The only reason I do social media is I get to meet good people like you. Ben HVAC Tactical. I never looked at it when you say size of company. I never looked at myself to be a big company. Never. Because I've been like a freight train, just looking forward and full steam ahead. I never stopped back and looked back at, what have I accomplished? If I have accomplished anything. And the one that's actually pointed it out was Ben from HVAC Tactical. He's actually pointed out, says, Angel, I know you're just so stuck in your full steam ahead, but he says, you're a pretty big company. I said, I don't think so. I'm always seeing myself as a little company, and I'm trying to catch up to those bigger companies. He says, no, Angel, if you go to every town, there's not that many big companies. There's a lot of, under 5 guys, under 10 guys, but not many, with 50 employees or plus. And he's the one that actually had to point it out to me. But even then, I don't let that get to my head, Alex.
Well, let me ask you this: is there an end game for you? Do you see it just working till you can't physically work anymore? Do you have a point to where maybe 60 something years old that you would sell it out? How do you see the future for your company?
Well, here's why I'm blessed. That 18-year-old I told you about.
That's right. Your son's gonna take it over.
He's 18. He's out now. His older brother's 21, and he's my comfort advisor. He's been with me already 2 years too. And I tell you what, it's true how what they say is how you raise your kids makes a big difference. Because I've been breeding these boys, and I've been in their minds since they were 10 years old, talking about business, talking about work ethic. Now they're mini me's of me, only a lot better version because they're 10 times smarter than I was at that age. So I'm hoping that, I look at them as maybe my retirement. Maybe I can do this for another 5 years and they'll get a good grip on things. And I'll say, hey, I'll work 4 or 5 months out of the year. I'll come work summers. I'll be the reserve guy.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take for sure because there is some younger ones out there that with the right work ethic that they have the capability of doing it. But I think it's instilled early on. I think it's got to be instilled early.
Oh, absolutely. If I would have known that my company was going to grow, I was going to be in business this long. Honestly, when I got into business, Alex, all I wanted to do is make $40,000 a year. That's it. I was content with living in an apartment. I was content with making $40,000 a year and just enjoying life. Never did I ever imagine that, I would have over 50 employees, and I've been doing this for 21 years. It was never did I think of that, But, you do good work for people, you stay honest, and you stay committed to the customer. It just works out that way.
I agree.
That's my opinion. I come to see it's a recipe for success. Now, you got owners. I've talked to a lot of people on social media, and they'll say, oh, well, I leave by 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I'll let my guys finish. Okay, so you're just getting by. You're not trying to grow your company. And he goes, what do you mean by that? I said, well, if I never leave. I'm the, I try to be the first one there and the last one to leave. If I'm done with my day's work, I find out who's still out, and let me go catch up to them. Let me go help them. This goes back to, how, leading by example. You got a lot of owners out there, a lot of company owners that, just want to show up at 9 in the morning and leave by 3 in the afternoon and hang out in the office all day. You think an employee is going to want to work? I know I wouldn't want to work hard for a guy like that. I mean, how would that make you feel, Alex?
I had a guy that I used to work for that he would come up beside you and lay on the ground and watch you work. As you can see where I'm at now.
Yeah.
He was it was crazy because he would sit there right like at a customer's place and do that. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, that's such a bad look. And then they'd come up to me as soon as he'd go to the bathroom. Hey man, can you come over here and do this? I mean, I know he's getting a paycheck from being here. He ain't doing nothing. What is he doing here?
Yeah.
It was just, boss. I'm gonna have to cut it right here, man. I'm running low on batteries. But I'll jump back on later on, man. And once again, I just want you to know I really do appreciate your advice. It's invaluable.
Would it?
I don't think you would, man. I don't think you would. And everything you said has come true. So,
all right, buddy. You have a good one.
I'll see y'all.